I had this hypothetical, or actually it was a caller brought it up. Who could be the Deion in college basketball, if any? So there's a lot of elements to it. I think you would need, like, guys in football have such a separation, I feel like, when they till they get back into coaching, if that makes sense. Like, they work their way up, and then it's like Deion, you ask any 20-year-old, they do have to Google him. Yeah. They're not like, I remember watching Deion Sanders like we do at 35, 36. So, like, guys like that lose their relevance. Like, who, if anything,
I have two answers,
can get back into college basketball? Because it's mostly older white guys,
right?
Father figure type things. Even a guy like John Thompson, like, why was he revered? Why does Ed Cooley look up to him? He was like a father figure. But how did he do that? He wasn't out there, like, woofing on the sidelines. Yeah. It was because he got respect. You know, these guys carry themselves, like, bigger than now. Like, Krzyzewski, Boeheim. Like, so, like, if anybody, and does it work in college basketball? Because the turnover, it works in college football because on a Saturday, the whole week you got headlines. The guy who buried I say it all the time, guy who buried the football. That's why I'm so interested in talking to college basketball coaches, because I feel like their personalities do not get escalated. I wouldn't recognize half their voices behind me. Because you play Saturday, we do a little bit of a press conference, you're playing Monday. You play Monday, then you're playing Wednesday. Like, what are you really getting in 48 hours of
That's true.
turnover? So, like, who is big enough to do that? Who's big enough to embrace the villain? Is there anybody now who's doing it well?
So Penny is the obvious, like, closest thing we have in college basketball. I would say Penny. He's not Deion, but I think Penny Hardaway, wearing a Penny Hardaway logo on his clothing as he's doing press conferences and stuff, is pretty baller, and I think he still resonates. And I think his legacy as a player has aged well in the sense that like his peers that he played with still talk about him with reverence, to where, like, if you're a younger guy and you don't remember growing up with Penny Hardaway, you still can turn on the TV and see Shaq be like, Penny Hardaway is maybe the most talented teammate I ever had. He would have been, you know. But it's not like Memphis isn't really popping off like that. Like, I think they're close to Penny. They've done just a good enough job, and maybe this is ultimately what Deion will do, but it feels like Penny has done just a good enough job in Memphis for us to all notice that he's not doing, like, the better job. You know what I mean? Like he's good enough for us to notice it, and then we're like, yeah, you've had some good teams that kind of, but you've never really, like, done more.
But even the way Penny, like, Penny's trying to be taken seriously, so he
exactly.
You know, like,
he fights against it.
And I don't
know
if that works. It was just, I took the call and I was like, that's an awesome hypothetical. Like, does that work? Does a guy being a villain work in college basketball?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it does,
because I don't know if you get the respect. Like, you look at what they do. You know, like, certain guys go at guys like Boeheim or go at guys like Cal. And then the media respects the older clout so much that all of a sudden that guy gets, that guy a fucking clown. You see what he did after the Syracuse game? You see what he did after this? Like,
I got a guy for you who is, it's not really realistic, but if this happened, I think it could get close. Who's cool as shit, who is directly tied to his alma mater and still loves his alma mater and would coach, which I know Deion's not at his alma mater, but my answer, and it's not going to happen because they just hired a new coach, but it's Allen Iverson if he was to coach Georgetown.
No chance he coaches.
But he doesn't coach.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's not realistic, but if I told you Allen Iverson, if Georgetown, instead of hiring Ed Cooley, they hired Allen Iverson, that would be cool as fuck.
Yeah.
That would have been like a Deion moment, because Iverson would show up with, like, braids in the press conference, and you'd be like, I've never seen a basketball coach with cornrows.
They immediately bring back the uniforms all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
and it would like immediately in the snap of a finger be like the coolest fucking thing. But he's not going to.
He's still showing at at practice. He still could probably rip a guy up at 50.
Right.
Like, can you?
He's not even there to coach. He's just there to play against his players.
Exactly. He'd be the best scout team guy available. Which I'm surprised now with, like, NIL or this shit. Like, why don't they bring in guys to give him a look? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, it's an interesting hypothetical that we are trying to get into guys embracing. Like, you see it with Muss. I'll give Muss credit.
Yeah.
Like, he's in front of social media and stuff like that. But then once, like, Muss has had success now, so does he still need to do this social media blast?
Because I think he's committed to it. You know, like,
I think
he's already in.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Like, I look at a guy like Pat Kelsey, right? Is Pat Kelsey going to be doing that when he gets to Notre Dame or he gets a big-time job?
Right.
Like, why is he doing it? He's doing it because he's at Charleston. Like, hell of a coach, and that's how you get guys on the map. Like, Mike Bray said it. He used to have to go to the lunchrooms in fucking Delaware. He had to do it at Notre Dame, but that was Notre Dame had been bad for a while.
Bruce Pearl takes over a basketball program that no one gave a shit about, and you got to, like, you do have to paint your chest and go to the lunchroom and.
But then once you go to the tournament 3, 4, 5 years in a row, Now
Yeah.
it's like, all right, I don't have
Yeah.
to do that anymore. It's not that they got too big for their britches. It's just one of those things, like, act as you've been there. So it's an interesting hypothetical, like, just, and does
That
it
is
work
true.
in college basketball?
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, what if we had guys, like, back in the day, like, I mean, Chaney and Cal fucking threatened to kill each other.
Yeah, that's what sucks is like college basketball for the longest time was the sport of crazy. Crazy is not the right word, although they were crazy, but just like characters, just coaching characters. The old Big East had characters. The Big Ten had characters. The ACC had characters.
Majerus, Tarkanian,
Yeah, and that was like what defined the programs were the coaches and the character that they were.